right, welcome back, everyone. We are jumping right back into this massive undertaking by Green Strokes, organizing his entire music collection, like a World Cup elimination tournament. It's quite something. We are definitely on an album quest here.
Oh, absolutely. And quest feels right because it's pretty demanding, requires really listening, comparing things directly, making some really hard choices. And today, we're focused on round 2, group 13.
Right. And these aren't newcomers, are they? These 4 albums, they already won a round.
Exactly. They're survivors. They've already beaten some serious competition to get this far. But now only 2 of them get to move on to round 3.
Okay, so let's lay out the contenders for group 13. We've got Will.I.Am's Willpower, that big production sound. Then there's Black's Wonderful Life, that kind of moody, sophisticated 80s pop.
High classic, yeah.
Then the Veterans, UFO with Covenant, a later hard rock album.
Right.
And finally, the 8 Mile soundtrack, Eminem and, a whole crew of collaborators.
That's the lineup. And, just to give a sense of what they've already achieved, it's worth quickly looking at who they beat in round 1. These weren't walkovers.
Good point. What did Wonderful Life have to overcome?
Well, Black's album actually topped a group with some interesting names. 10cc's in concert, Scorpions Fly to the Rainbow.
Wow, classic rock.
Yeah, and even, maybe surprisingly, Green Day's Warning.
Okay, so it beat out some diverse stuff. What about Willpower?
Will.I.Am faced a real mix. Had to get past Wheatus to remember them.
Teenage Dirtbag, sure.
That one.
Yeah.
Plus, System of a Down's Hypnotize, which is complex metal.
Very different.
And a hard rock band called Stonefish.
Oh.
So, Willpower navigated a tricky path.
And the soundtracks. 8 Mile had some technical wizards to beat.
It did. It advanced past Dream Theater's Falling into Infinity, that's serious prog metal.
Definitely.
And Dragon Force's Inhuman Rampage, the super fast power metal guys.
Right.
Though it's worth noting, 8 Mile didn't win its group outright. It lost the top spot to Elton John's Captain Fantastic.
Oh, okay. Still impressive, though.
Absolutely. And UFO with Covenant. Their round 1 group was, let's say, unexpected.
How so?
They managed to squeak past Tears for Fears Elemental and Oasis's The Master Plan.
Wait, The Master Plan? That's a highly rated B-sides collection, and Elemental is solid Tears for Fears.
Exactly. The analyst seems baffled by this, even in hindsight. UFO lost the group win to Michael Jackson's Bad, but still, beating those 2, it raised eyebrows.
So the point is, just getting to round 2 is a real achievement in this quest.
No doubt. But, the rules are the rule. Past glories don't matter now. You have to be one of the top 2 in this group. And looking at the results for group 13, one of the veterans didn't make it.
Okay, let's get into section 1 then. The 2 albums that didn't qualify. We should start at the bottom right. 4th place, the biggest letdown of the group.
Yeah, that would be UFO's Covenant. Dead last. Eliminated.
Ouch. What went wrong? I mean, UFO, Schenker, Mogg. That's legendary personnel.
It really is. And that's the tragedy here, I think.
Yeah.
The analyst describes it as having the right people, but just all the wrong songs. It came out quite late in their career, remember, over 18 years before this analysis was done, and it followed a much better album, Walk on Water, from '95.
So the comparison was maybe unflattering from the start.
Very unflattering. And you know how sometimes critics talk about veteran bands having a mature sound?
Yeah, often a euphemism.
Exactly. Here, the analyst basically says mature just means bland, or even worse, insipid, ordinary rock music.
That's harsh. Does it sound that generic?
Apparently so. The notes mention a real struggle to find even one standout track, which, for a band like UFO, is saying something.
Any specifics? Are the songs just forgettable?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Unravelled gets called merely okay, and the comment is it sounds like a reject from Walk on Water.
Not a good sign.
No. And other tracks like Rise Again and Serenade, just passable. Filler, essentially. The whole album feels like filler.
And what about the playing? Mogg's vocals? Schenker's guitar?
Well, the analysis gives Mogg credit for trying to lift these limp melodies, as they're called.
But failing.
Seems so. And the description of Michael Schenker's playing is just deflating.
What does it say?
It says he sounds like he's just doodling over any old generic rock track.
Wow. For Schenker, known for those incredible, distinctive riffs, that's damning.
It really is. Like the fire just wasn't there. If the material doesn't inspire someone like Schenker, what chance does the listener have? His boredom becomes our boredom.
That makes sense, and it feeds back into that earlier point, doesn't it? How did this album even get through round 1?
It's the big question hanging over it. The analyst seems genuinely puzzled, beating Elemental in the Master Plan.
Yeah, that seems wild in retrospect.
It does. Maybe it was, I don't know, listening fatigue in the first round, a moment of misplaced nostalgia.
Could be.
Whatever the reason, under the closer scrutiny of round two, Covenant just didn't hold up. He was clearly the weakest, and yeah, got eliminated pretty quickly. Fourth place.
Okay, so moving up one spot, finishing third, just missing out, Eminem Co's 8 Mile. That must have been a closer call, surely, especially with Lose Yourself.
Oh, it was incredibly close. Apparently, it lost very narrowly to Willpower. And 8 Mile is tricky to judge, isn't it? The source makes a point of saying it's technically a soundtrack compilation.
Right, not a cohesive studio album from one artist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that difference is key to why it ultimately failed. It's just too inconsistent, a real game of two halves.
Okay, but let's talk about that first half first, because it's powerful.
Undeniably. The analysis calls it a phenomenal showcase. Early 2000s hip-hop Eminem, 50 Cent, Obi Trice, D12, all sounding raw and hungry.
And it kicks off with Lose Yourself.
The big one. You really can't overestimate that track's impact. It went way beyond hip-hop fans.
Oh yeah, everyone knew that song.
Right. The analysis credits its universal appeal, grabbing people who normally wouldn't touch rap. And it pinpoints why. That non-rap chorus.
You only get one shot.
Exactly. That sing-along, uplifting vibe combined with Eminem's intense verses. It's just perfect pop structure meeting raw lyrical power.
And it doesn't let up immediately after, does it?
Not at all. Straight into Love Me, great track, Eminem, Obi Trice, 50 Cent bouncing off each other, classic stuff.
And the title track, 8 Mile.
Brilliant. The source loves the beat on that one, using those rumbling train sounds, really rooted in the movie's atmosphere.
Yeah, that's clever production.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the quality continues for a bit. Adrenaline rush, places to go, keep the energy high, and Rap Game gets singled out too.
As maybe the second best track.
Yeah, a contender for it. So that whole opening stretch is just incredibly strong.
Which makes you wonder, how does it lose to Will.I.Am? That feels like a result that needs explaining.
It does feel controversial on the surface, yeah. And the analyst justifies it entirely based on the second half of the album. The quality just falls off a cliff.
Really, even with the big names involved.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Expectations were sky high with that roster, but they just didn't deliver.
Who specifically underperformed, according to the analysis?
Well, the names mentioned as under-delivering are heavy hitters. Nas, Rakim, Young Z too.
Legends.
Right. But their tracks here apparently feel phoned in, maybe put over beats that don't really suit them, or just lacking that spark. Like quick commissions for a soundtrack, not proper album cuts.
And there were some odd choices, too.
Yeah, the inclusion of Macy Gray is called out as confusing. Kind of breaks the mood set by the first half.
Takes it in a different direction.
Exactly. And even Jay-Z, another huge name, his contribution is labeled subpar. It just feels messy, like they threw everything at the wall.
So even though Eminem himself closes strongly with Rabbit Run,
it's not enough to save it. That lack of consistency across the whole running order, that's what killed it. It didn't have that cohesive feel, that clinical production the analyst attributes to Willpower.
Clinical production. Interesting phrase.
Yeah. And apparently that polish, that consistency was enough for Willpower to just edge out 8 Mile for the second qualifying spot.
Okay, that is a surprising outcome. But look, before we even get to the winner, this group prompted a massive sidebar in the analysis, didn't it? About audio quality.
It really did. And it's fascinating stuff, especially for anyone who remembers the 80s and the whole vinyl versus CD thing.
And it was all sparked by the album that actually won this group.
Yeah, Black's Wonderful Life. The analysts apparently listened to it over and over, trying to make a digital recording of vinyl rip from an original 1987 pressing.
Okay, that's dedication.
It is. And that intense, focused listening, trying to capture the best possible sound, it really hammered home a belief for analysts.
Which was?
That for albums pressed in the 80s, the original vinyl is often superior to the CD version released around the same time.
And they did a direct comparison.
A direct A-B comparison. The commercial CD versus their own vinyl rip of Wonderful Life. And the verdict was clear. The vinyl rip sounded more dynamic, more alive, way more compelling, and just plain clearer.
Wow. So a noticeable difference.
Apparently a huge difference. And this vinyl rip wasn't just for archival purposes, right? They wanted to listen to it in the car.
Which is a noisy environment, not ideal for subtle dynamics.
Exactly. So get this. The analyst actually wrote a custom software program.
To do what? Just make it louder.
Not just louder. To intelligently amplify and equalize the digital processing tailored to give the vinyl rip more presence for listening in the car without crushing the life out of it.
Okay, that's serious commitment. It really highlights how much better they must have thought the vinyl source was.
Totally. And it wasn't just a one-off with the Black Album either.
No. What else?
They mentioned testing other 80s rock albums, Rainbow Straight Between the Eyes, Blackfoot's Marauder.
Both solid albums.
And in both cases, the verdict was the same. The 80s vinyl pressings were clearly miles better than their CD counterpart.
So this pattern emerges.
Yeah.
Which leads to the big question. Why? Is vinyl just inherently better?
Well, this is where the analysis gets really interesting. The argument isn't necessarily that the vinyl format is fundamentally superior to digital. It's that the early CDs made from those 80s analog masters were often poorer quality reproductions.
Ah, so it's about the transfer process.
Exactly. The weak link was the analog to digital conversion, the ADD process you used to see on CD labels. In the early and mid-80s, that technology was still relatively crude. It just couldn't capture the full richness and dynamic range of the original master tapes.
So like taking a blurry photo of a masterpiece painting, the photo isn't bad because it's a photo, but because the camera or the photographer wasn't good enough.
That's a great analogy. The digital format itself wasn't the problem, but the way the music was put into that format back then often resulted in a loss of detail, warmth, and dynamics.
Which explains why people felt ripped off, trading their beloved vinyl for these thin-sounding CDs.
Absolutely. That initial bad experience created this perception that CDs were just inherently worse, especially for music originally recorded on analog tape. And that perception, well, it stuck.
But technology improved, right? That's why later CDs, and especially remasters, sound so much better.
Precisely. The analyst notes that modern CDs can sound incredible. And things like remastered editions, Pink Floyd's The Wall is given as an example, are successful because they go back to the original masters and use much, much better digital conversion technology. They fix the mistakes of those early attempts.
So the whole vinyl versus digital debate, especially for 80s music, is often comparing apples and oranges.
That's the core argument here. You're comparing a potentially well-pressed 80s vinyl against a often poorly converted early 80s CD. Of course, the vinyl sounds better. But the analysis suggests that if you compare, say, a 90s vinyl pressing with a 90s CD pressing of the same album, the differences are much less pronounced because the digital conversion tech had caught up by then.
Fascinating. And this whole cycle had a cost for the listener, too, didn't it? The Michael Jackson anecdote.
Oh, yeah, the bad album journey. The analyst calls themselves a mug. A bit harsh, maybe.
Why?
Because they ended up buying bad 4 times over the years. First on tape cassette, then the vinyl.
Right.
Then that initial, probably quite thin-sounding 80 CD. And finally, years later, the remastered CD, which presumably sounded much better.
Wow. 4 times for the same album.
Yeah. It just perfectly illustrates how consumers had to keep paying until the record companies finally got the digital quality right. Good for the record companies' profits, maybe, but frustrating for the fans chasing the best sound.
Okay, that whole detour into audio tech is super important context. It tells us a lot about what quality even means in this quest. So let's finally turn back to the music in Group 13 and the 2 albums that actually qualified. Starting with second place, Will.I.Am's Willpower.
Right, the album that controversially edged out 8 Mile. And the analyst kind of anticipates the reaction, acknowledging it might lack street credibility to rank this big, shiny pop album so high.
But the argument is straightforward.
Very. It's just fun, and consistently so.
Where does that fun start? What are the key tracks?
It kicks off really strong. The opening pair, Hello and This Is Love, are highlighted as powerful, well-produced dance pop tracks. Sets the tone immediately. Even a lesser track, Early On, Freshie, gets a nod as being actually okay within that electropop framework.
And collaborations are a big part of this album's sound, right?
Huge. Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, Nicole Scherzinger. They're not just guests. Their contributions really shape the hits. It's polished, commercial electropop built on star power and, crucially, strong musical ideas.
So which other tracks stand out as embodying that sound?
The analysis points to several big electropop numbers. Scream and Shout, that was massive, wasn't it?
Huge tune.
Yeah. Plus Fall Down, Far Away From Home, and Reach for the Stars. They all share that layered synth production, the driving beats, and Will.I.Am's own contribution, that funky rap spin weaving through it all. It's very slick, very modern-sounding production. No wasted space.
But it's not perfect. Are there weak spots?
A couple are mentioned, yeah. But they seem minor. There's a slightly annoying child vocal on Ghetto Ghetto. And one track, Getting Dumb, is just called Just About Passable.
So minor dips, not a total collapse like the second half of 8 Mile.
Exactly. The overall level of quality control, that clinical production stays high.
And that's why it won. Cohesion over flashes of brilliance.
That seems to be the reasoning. 8 Mile hit higher highs with Lose Yourself, no doubt, but its lows were much lower. Willpower might not reach that same artistic peak, but it delivered a consistent professional standard across the board. And in this head-to-head comparison, that consistency won out.
Which brings us finally to the winner. The album that topped Group 13 and sparked that whole vinyl discussion, Black's Wonderful Life.
Yes, the surprise package. Ranked first, moving on to round 3. And the analyst admits going in, this 1987 UK chart album wasn't tipped as a favorite against, Eminem and UFO.
Yet the deep listening process changed that perspective.
Completely. Especially that intensive vinyl ripping session we talked about. It just revealed the underlying quality, enough to clearly defeat the rest of this group.
What's the overall assessment? Why did it win?
Craftsmanship, basically. It's described as a solid, well-crafted album. Sophisticated 80s pop.
And the title track itself is a good example.
Perfect example. It's called a moody pop synth anthem, but the magic is in the contrast. Uplifting lyrics over minor keys and depressing overtones.
That's interesting. Creates tension.
Exactly. Emotional depth. And Colin Viancomb's vocals are singled out as a huge part of that.
How so?
Just the range. The analysis praises his superb range, using both high falsetto and his lower baritone effectively. It adds color and stops the moodier tracks from just dragging.
And musically, it's more than just synths.
Oh, yeah. There are heavy jazz influences mentioned, which is interesting for an 80s pop hit album.
Yeah.
And specific instruments get highlighted. Clarinet, brass, things that add texture and warmth beyond just the electronics. Probably sounded great on that original vinyl.
Makes sense. Any other standout tracks besides the title song?
The mid-tempo songs are seen as real strengths. Everything's Coming Up Roses and I'm Not Afraid are specifically named as high points, balancing the moodiness with strong melodies.
And there was that nice little anecdote about perspective changing over time.
Yeah, with the track, Sweetest Smile. The analyst remembers finding it a bit boring as a kid.
We've all been there.
Right. But listening now with more mature ears, it's seen as a compelling and emotional end to the album.
Shows how deeper listening, maybe forced by this Quest format, can reveal hidden qualities.
Absolutely. The quality was maybe subtle, but it was there all along.
So the final verdict on Wonderful Life.
It earned its win fair and square in this group. The analyst does wonder if it might struggle in round 3 against even tougher competition.
But for now?
For now, its quality shone through, described as a joy to spin and demonstrating more depth and consistency than the others in Group 13. So let's wrap up the results for round 2, Group 13 of this album quest. Advancing to the next round are, in first place, Black with Wonderful Life, and in second, Will.I.Am with Willpower.
Which means we say goodbye to Eminem Co's 8 Mile in third, and the veterans UFO with Covenant finishing 4th.
That's the outcome.
This group analysis gave us quite a bit beyond just the results. We got insights into the difference between, say, a flawed compilation and a consistent pop album.
Right, and that definition of mature rock, sometimes just meaning bland. A bit cynical, maybe, but relatable.
Definitely. And of course, that huge technical dive into the vinyl versus CD debate.
Yeah. Understanding that the issue often wasn't digital itself, but those early, poor quality ADD conversions in the 80s, that feels like a key takeaway.
And how remastering essentially fixed that initial problem by using better tech on the original tapes.
Exactly.
And thinking back, all that audio insight was triggered because the analysts spent so much time meticulously trying to get the best sound out of that Wonderful Life vinyl.
Yeah, hours of listening, comparing, even writing software just to capture it properly.